The more I dig into this Georgia-Texas game, the more I see that there is a glaring difference between these two football teams, and I think it is a big advantage for the Georgia Bulldogs. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. And you know what? I'm just going to come out and say it, right? Why beat around the bush? The Georgia Bulldogs can run the football, and the Texas Longhorns simply can't, okay? That's not an opinion, it's a fact, and we're going to break it down in the video because we're going over the numbers, right? And we're going to add some context to it and dive into what is real, right? Numbers are great, but they don't tell the whole story. The whole story and the reality is that the Texas Longhorns cannot run the football. They have had a really tough time doing it all year long. I don't see how they go into Athens against one of the better run defenses in the conference and run through them, right? It's just not going to happen. However, everyone watching this video knows that Georgia can run the football. It wasn't great against Auburn. It wasn't great at times against Florida, but they are running the football a lot better than the Texas Longhorns. And I think this is the biggest factor in why Georgia is going to win the football game. They can run it. Texas can't. And I know everyone's going to come out and say, well, Texas has a great run defense, yada, yada, yada. Sure, statistically, they do. But we're going to break that down as well because I don't think their run defense is as great as the numbers indicate because they haven't really played anyone who can run the football. But let's start with Texas's rushing attack or lack thereof, okay? This is what they've done this year as I pull up my notes. They are the fifth worst rushing attack in the SEC, averaging just 135 yards per game on the ground. Now, they do have talented backs. I'm not trying to crap on their running backs, and Arch Manning can run too. It's the offensive line that has not been very good. That's not an excuse because they're all talented kids. They play for Texas. I'm sure they've had some guys banged up, but so has Georgia. Georgia's had two true freshmen on the right side of the offensive line for most of the season, and they're still running up and down, on a lot of the teams they play. Texas, they can't do it. I don't know if it's a coaching thing. I'm not a college head football coach yet. Maybe one day I can explain that. There's no gel. There's no chemistry. They cannot get it going. And we are well into the season now, and they're just not running on anybody. Trey Wisner, talented guy. He's their leading rusher, 338 yards, averaging 3.8 yards per rush. It's not great, okay? Just 3 rushing touchdowns. Arch Manning actually leads Texas with 6 rushing touchdowns. They ran for 100 yards and 1 touchdown against Vandy. That's fine. That's not great. I mean, that's not really winning football if you're just getting to that 100-yard mark. But, okay, fine. Cool. Texas ran for 72 yards and 32 carries against Mississippi State for 2.3 yards per rush. That's the same state team that Georgia ran over 300 on, okay? Let me say that again in case you missed it. They rushed for just 72 yards against Mississippi State. Georgia ran for 300 on them. Easy. All day long. If you're averaging just 2.3 yards a carry against that Mississippi State defense, that ain't good. You're not running the football against that Georgia defense. They ran for just 47 yards and 1 touchdown against Kentucky on 28 carries. They were trying to run the football, and they couldn't do it. That's 1.7 yards per rush against Kentucky. That's the same Kentucky team that Georgia ran for 180 yards and 4 touchdowns on, averaging over 4 yards a rush. Okay? It's not rocket science here. Georgia can run the football. Texas can't. Texas knows how to win. They lost to Florida. They lost to Ohio State. But they find ways to win games, but they're beating Kentucky in overtime. They should have lost to a bad Mississippi State team. They came back and won it in overtime. If you take the logo off the helmet, you're looking at a team that can't run the football and is barely scraping by, barely beating bad football teams. I know there's a lot of talent on that roster. I don't know why I said that like a British person. Talent. I'm not even going down because I just screwed that up. All right? No. Let's move on, Matt. The Horns ran for 136 yards and 35 carries and 0 touchdowns against Oklahoma. They won the game. That's not winning the game on the ground. They ran for just 52 yards and 1 touchdown and a loss to the Gators. Georgia ran for 138 on them, including an explosive 36-yard touchdown run that gave them the lead and helped them win the game. They ran for 166 on the Buckeyes, though. 4.5 yards per rush. That was week 1. They have gotten considerably worse on the ground week after week after week. Now, I don't think the backs have been super healthy either. C.J. Baxter is a back that I think came to their program as a 5-star prospect. Again, the guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to run. So does Wisner. But the holes just aren't there. Those guys can make plays too, especially Wisner in the passing game. They will sometimes go to him out of the backfield on third down, but they don't do a great job of getting to the perimeter and up the field, and the offensive line is just not winning the battle in the trenches. There's really nowhere to run for most of the season between the tackles that I've seen from this Texas rushing offense. It's just not there. It is just not there. They can't run the football, and I don't think they're going to do a whole lot of it in Athens. Let's talk about Georgia's rushing attack. They are 4th best in the SEC in rushing. They're averaging 197 yards per game. They do it in a lot of different ways. It's a versatile group. They can run with finesse. They can run with power. They've got different guys. One day, Nate Frazier looks like easily the best running back on the roster, and sometimes it's Chauncey Bowens. Then they have Josh McCray, a weapon out of the backfield in short yardage downs around the goal line, 4th and 1. Ole Miss knows all about that. This guy's tough to tackle. You've got Gunnar Stockton leaping into the corner of the end zone like Superman to seal the game against Auburn in a game where they didn't run up and down the field. But he's a guy who makes that offense and that rushing attack go in his own way. They've got Dylan Bell running the football. They've got a little Cash Jones here and there, right on third down. Bo Walker showed flashes against State late in that game, helped get them over that 300-yard mark. So they don't have just one guy. Texas has Wisner, who looks like they're clear number 1. And then a talented Baxter behind him, and then Arch Manning occasionally. Georgia's got a lot of guys, and they've got an offensive line who is gelling, and they're finally as healthy as they've been. Georgia can run the football. They've shown that. They've shown they can run over 200 yards against a not-so-great but top 10 Ole Miss team. They ran for 300 on a State defense that really stopped Texas running the football. So if you really dig into the numbers, and again, it's not all about the numbers. You just watch it. It's really tough for Texas to get anything going at times. And then you look at Georgia, and sometimes it is really, really easy. They've got power. They've got elusiveness. They've got speed. I haven't even mentioned Dwight Phillips Jr. He ran really well early in the season. Couldn't get it going against State. There was a couple times where the blocking just wasn't there. But Georgia can run the football, and they can run it on Texas. Okay, let's talk about that Texas run defense. They're 2nd best in the country against the run, giving up 787 yards a game. But only one SEC opponent that they played are in the top 5 in the league in rushing, and that's Vanderbilt. Florida can't. They're not great at running the football. State's not great at running the football. Oklahoma's not great at running the football. Kentucky's not great against running the football. So the Texas defense hasn't seen an offensive attack like Georgia's, especially on the ground. They better be ready. They better buckle it up. I don't care that they're the number 2 run defense in the country. They haven't taken on these dogs, okay? And they're going to have to tackle those backs and Gunnar Stockton and win the battle in the trenches for 4 quarters to get a win in Athens at night? I don't think so. I don't think so. No, sir. No, ma'am. Whoever you're watching, I love you. The ladies love this channel, by the way. We love our lady viewers. Y'all are the best. But listen, this is still going to be a line of scrimmage game, in my opinion. Both quarterbacks are going to have to make big throws. They're both probably going to have to help in the run game. But at the end of the day, I think you look at who's going to run the ball more effectively, and I'm taking the home team that has shown that they can run on defenses left and right. And they have capable backs, multiple. And the numbers are there. The holes are there. That's the thing. The numbers are, they tell one story, but when you're watching the game, and some of these Georgia backs aren't getting touched until 5, 6, 7 yards down the field, and they're breaking tackles, and they're showing some explosiveness on the ground, and then you look at Texas, and they're just not. And again, it's not because the backs aren't talented. They are. They may not have, or they may not be living to those 5-star expectations, but the offensive line is just, they're not doing their job up front. They didn't help Arch Manning in the beginning of the season, in the middle of the season. They're finally starting to give him some time, but they're still not opening up a lot in the run game. They can't do it. It is mid-November. Texas still hasn't found a way to run the football consistently. They're not going to just finally figure it out this weekend. The Georgia Bulldogs can run the ball. Texas can't. That's reality, right? And that's one part of the game that's really important. And I think Georgia clearly is going to win that battle, or at least they should if you look at the tape and you look at the numbers. So I think Georgia's going to run the football probably more than people think, and I don't see how Texas gets it going and gets over that 125, 130-yard mark on the ground. Maybe I'm wrong. Normally not, though. Normally not. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. Not my best video, but I think the rushing attack definitely leans Georgia's way this weekend. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. I'll see you over on dawgpost.com.